Alright everyone, so I'm just going to do a quick thing to show you guys how I cut my spline. So I'll probably mention it half a dozen times. This is 7mm ply. This is actually ply left over from lining the walls of the train room. So I remember many years ago watching my dad work in the garage and cutting long strips of timber, and he always used a straight edge to get it nice and straight, and basically run the circular saw along that straight edge. And so monkey see, monkey do. I am a bit of a sentimental person, and this is a level that my dad actually lent me many years ago, and I've never given it back. I've become quite attached to it. But what I'll essentially do is, I know off the top of my head that the setback for the blade of my circular saw for the cutting edge to the guide is 29mm. So what I've been doing up in the for the spline, I've been getting my set square, or whatever you want to call this thing, and it's not a set square anyway. I set that to 50mm on there, and then basically to get my nice straight edge, I run this along here, make sure that my guide is sitting at my 50mm, and I clamp it, bring it back there, double check it all again. I know, and yeah, so this is an offcut, but also what I do for the spline, so I can bend it, I actually cut across the grain, I don't cut down the grain, so it gives it a bit of flexibility. But if you flex it too far, it will snap. But I figure that once they're all laminated together, I glue them and screw them, they're not going to go anywhere. So anyway, I'll just cut this one and I'll show you how it turns out. So that's how I'm getting my nice uniform spline sections to make up the spline. So I probably need about another half dozen, 10 or so to finish the spline. So I'll turn this off. I might even do it. I'll do a little quick time lapse of cutting up the rest of them. All right, thanks everyone. So I've got to the end here where I can't use the straight edge. I'll figure something out. I've got a few more bits of scrap. But yeah, if I hold them up there, I don't know if you'll see it or not, but there we go. I've got 5 strips, all nice and uniform, all nice and flexible as well. So here you go guys. I'm going to do a few more. I'm going to turn the camera off so I can just get it done. Alright everyone, so this is the new spline that I've been working on. So that's 7mm ply ripped down like I was showing you in the video, or I'm going to show you. I'm not sure what I've done in order here. Anyway, excuse me. Anyway, so they're all glued together with PVA glue, and they're also glued to the risers. The risers I've just screwed into the bench work there, and just to help it all out, every 15mm, and then also at every joint or external joint there, I'm screwing it through with these nice long screws, so that'll hold it all in nice and solid. It's not going to go anywhere. All right, so I'm just going to stop this and then start again, just so if I mess up the next bit, I don't have to keep do this all over again. All right, so I've gone around to the other side, guys. So this is where the spline will be joining on to the other bit of flat bench work. And then what I'll do is I get these little clout nails. Man, I'm very bad with the camera today. I've got these little clouts and I basically hammer them gently in to the outside of the riser, and then I go around, and that's basically going to give me my hold the initial bit of spline in place, and I'll do that there as well. And then what I'll do, actually I'll just, so what I'll do then is I'll actually hammer that down, and the top edge of the clout holds it in place. So I believe I've actually still got them in situ over the back here. So yeah, so the edge of the clout holds that in place. And then I'll go along and glue and clamp on the next layers. So once again, I'll stop here and we'll keep going. Okay, moving along everyone. So I've nailed in my first bit of spline for the last bit. The first bit for the last bit, that's good English. 2 bits of spline clamped together there. And you can see I've got the clouts holding that in, and there's one behind there as well. And so now it basically becomes clamp time. Now, I'll show you here, you've probably been able to see that I didn't just, and this is a lesson I learned from my previous splines, I didn't just bring them all up together and then have to then join them all on again. I staggered them. Look at that. A friend of mine broke my finger playing basketball a couple of months ago, my little finger, and it's still crooked as all, anyway. So they're basically spaced 15 mil apart. And you'll see I've got the big screws in here that I mentioned, right? But what I also do is I've got these little tiny screws. They're just, because they're quite soft wood, I'll take them out now. So they were there just to initially help retain the curve when I was first clamping it all up. So there'll be a clamp and then a screw, and then the screw would hold in the wood onto that angle and hold the curve. All right, so in theory, when I take all these out, that'll be still holding that curve. But when it comes time to the other end with the staggering again, I'll be doing this again. So I don't know how well this is going to go. What I might do, I'll put the camera up on one of the high bits and video myself doing this and see if it makes any sense, and I'll talk my way through it as well. Okay everyone, we're cleaning out the shed the other day, just on a side note, and we realised that many months ago my father-in-law, Tommy, hello Tommy, left his lovely tripod behind, his camera tripod. So I'm currently using it until he comes over to take it back. So he mounted up, nearly up at the roof there. So, as I pointed out in the last bit, so I've got the initial spline laid in, okay? So what I'll do now, it's pretty basic. I suppose you just have to, I don't know, work with purpose and get it done. You can't rush it because you've got to allow the glue to go off, but I tend to get things done pretty quickly. And then I'll whack a little bit of glue under there, under there, under there. Now I'm just going to release these ones here because that's going to pop off for a second. And I'll glue this back, I'll clamp this back on when I glue it. And a bit of glue there. Okay, as you can see, the clouts are actually holding that in place pretty well, even though I've released the tension off the back there. So I'll just smear that nice and evenly across the timber there. It's a bit thin here at the very end. This is PVA wood glue, nothing fancy. That's why I also don't mind spreading it out with my hands, because it's water soluble and all that sort of stuff. And this is where we get clamping. So I hope you can see this bit, but this is the first bit that I'm joining on there. Clamp time. One clamp, okay. The next clamp I'm going to put on is at that clout there, and that'll also help get a bit of the angle again. So there's that one clamped. Now this next clamp goes on the join of the back piece there. Come on, in we go. Here we go. Lovely. Okay. Keep going around. So basically, for this sort of a thing, I think I said in my still post that I put up in the community page was, can you ever have too many clamps? And pretty much no. So I'll clamp that one where the clout is. Go about halfway along here. So I like to try and clamp it to the point where I can see the glue squeeze out of the tops. So I know it's getting nice and even coverage. And up towards the end here. So that's that one there. So you can see there when I squeeze it, glue comes out. So I know I'm getting a nice even amount of glue through the, and you can actually get it under, you feel it coming out underneath. You'll get it out from under there. And then we'll do this. That one there. Okay. Got a few extra small clamps here just to help out. Look at that. Coming along lovely. Okay, all clamped up. So basically I'll leave that for a couple of minutes. Didn't need to glue there just yet. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my little tiny Phillips head driver and a couple of these, what are these, 4-gauge screws. Excuse me. Couple of these 4-gauge screws, and just this end bit, which is going to be the exposed bit, roughly 15 mil. I'll screw these through just to hold that in place. So it helps it keep the curve, is what I'm trying to say. So what I've done here, it's not a totally even curve all the way around. I find that if you make things perfectly even curves, it looks a little bit unnatural to my eye. So in that corner, it's a bit tight, nice and open here, and then tightens up a bit and comes around under there. Okay, so I'll leave that to set for, well, not to set, but to bind up for 5 or so minutes. And then what I'll be doing, and I hope you can see it, I'll see if I can just, I'll be coming over to here, adding in the next bit of spline, and I'll be taking out that screw there. I mean, I could leave those screws in, but I'll take them out. In the past, I've had screws through roadbed and thought I'll just leave it in there, and it happened to be just where I've wanted to drop a feeder wire or something through. So I'll get rid of those ones. I can see where the big screws are, so I know when that becomes an issue, but I just don't want anything sort of hidden in there. So, all right, we'll be back. Okay everybody, so that's basically how I do my spline. So I've got it up to this corner almost now with the full 8 width, 8 layers. And ooh, jiggly jiggly. So I'll have to cut some more spline and do that last bit there. But I'll leave this to set properly now for a good couple of hours, that glue all there. So it's glued and screwed, and that goes all the way back down to the, well, that bit. All right everyone, so that's how I make I'm making this lot of spline. I'll try and stitch all the footage that I've taken together, and I hope it makes sense. Now, there was one thing I did change, which is pretty obvious. On the older section of the layout, and even recently just joining the peninsula back up, rebuilding it in this room, I used this MDF packing strips for spline, and yeah, it's lovely, makes nice, it's really flexible, which is such a good thing about it. It's really good and flexy, but it's quite thin, so you had to use lots of layers. But also it's a pill to drill through. It cooks the drill bits. It takes a lot longer for the glue to try and penetrate and get into it. And then when I want to, so on the peninsula, on the original section, I've got to cut my finger. That super elevation that I put into the tracks, I actually sanded that into the roadbed, and I'll be able to do that a lot easier on this ply than I was on that MDF packing. So that's the main reason for the change. But yeah, there's so much glue and everything holding these in place that it's not going to go anywhere. Now, I've done it on the risers, and there's other layouts that I've seen where guys have done the roadbed on the risers and they've cut the whole section like cookie cutter out of ply and put it down. I actually found that a bit more daunting than just doing it like this. I don't go well with jigsaws and cutting things very straight, whereas using the spline like this, like yeah, if you look at these curves and everything up here, you can just get nice, real cool, nice curves and that. So yeah, anyway, I hope this helps guys. Anyone who needs the help, I'm very hesitant to put up a how-to video because I'm just learning all this stuff as I go myself. This is the first layout I've ever built. Yeah, I'm not sticking to any hard or fast rules. I'm just doing what works for me. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.